Hey, what is up, you guys? Huh? What is that? Ah! Oh, Oda, why do you keep glazing the God Knights and Emu? Notice I threw the God Knights in there. Welcome back in, you guys, to another One Piece chapter. This time, we're here for the post-game show for chapter 1181, where Oda just keeps on giving us more Saint Nerona Emu W's. Not to say that Loki doesn't look good this chapter. He does. But as a villain enjoyer, I was eating up the emu stuff. That sounds crazy. So, how this works, in case this is your first time tuning into one of these videos, is that we like to go through the comment section of the most previous video just to see what people are saying in regards to the latest chapter. So that being said, let's get right into it. All right, so let me just make my way over here to my designated position, marked by my flip-flops. Okay, first comment, top comment says, I feel like you can tell Oda has been waiting to draw Emu fighting. Oh, yeah. I mean, ever since Emu was first conceptualized, which we don't know how long that's been, right? People argue it's been since Skypiea, since the birth of One Piece. I'm not that crazy. I feel like he had ideas for Emu, but I think he only finally conceptualized what Emu is back in like chapter 900-ish. Not 900, 700. Yeah, there we go. Whenever we first saw the Emu reveal, whenever Doflamingo first talked about the treasure of Marie Joie, that is when I think Oda really sealed the deal on Emu. And ever since then, he's probably like, yo, next arc. We got to get that out of the way so we can get to the freaking king of the world. And in my personal opinion, the wait has been worth it. I know everybody's been saying it, but Emu feels like a character and looks like a character that doesn't belong in One Piece. And I enjoy that, man. You know, I really do revel in it. As much as I love the goofy characters we've been getting, Emu just brings a new flavor to the story, especially with the whole concept of gods and devils. This comment says, a full chapter of just one fight. It has been a long time since this happened. Oda is cooking. Yeah, it's been since like Wano, but even then, right? Even before Wano, it's been even longer. Oda rarely dedicates one-off chapters to fights 90% of the times. Actually, if you were to average it, it's like we get one full fight every, I don't know, this might be an exaggeration, you know, I'm not doing the statistics in my head, but maybe every like 70 to 100 chapters. So yes, finally getting a full-on Loki versus Emu showdown feels good. And I do not think the buck stops here, because Luffy still has not joined the battle. We don't know what Usopp is going to do. Hiruden could show back up. We still have Sommers and Killingham on the side. Oda, if he wanted to, could give us more fights here in Elbaf. This is just the beginning. You know, this is 2 chapters deep into Emu's arrival. This one says, I believe Joyboy and Emu were friends who both wanted to bring happiness to the world. Joyboy believed happiness was achieved through striving to fulfill your desires, journey, and destination. Emu believed happiness was achieved through having your own desires fulfilled. The destination outweighs the journey. Emu eventually felt he had to betray Joyboy in order to achieve their goal the right way, thinking that Joyboy, and now also Lily, betrayed the cause and left him with no other options. Yep. It could be this, or it could even just be a simple misunderstanding alongside this. I do love going back to the Nolan Calgara story, where Nolan was like, hey, I'm chopping down your ancestral trees because it's gonna save you, and then Calgara's like, yo, what the hell are you doing? Right? I do think there was a misunderstanding in the past, and it could just be this right here, right? They both wanted good things, but they went about it in different ways. And Emu, current day, is this his ideal world? We do not know that yet. Emu, before he showed up, he mentioned that Mu's world isn't complete yet. And I do wonder what will complete that world. Is this what he wants? Are there more steps to achieving that goal? We do not know. There's still so much ambiguity there. And the reveal, the Void Century flashback, is going to be crazy. Genuinely mind-breaking. This says, getting real close to the Joyboy reveal. Yep, any day now. Any day now. When Luffy joins the fight, we could realistically get the Joyboy reveal. I mentioned this in a previous video, but maybe Luffy performs an attack that is an attack that Joyboy used in the past, and Emu sees like a spitting image kind of thing. Because we're already assuming that Joyboy looks very similar to Luffy. So, yeah, there we go. Luffy attacks Emu. Emu looks up. Brief second, he's like, oh, Joyboy, is that you? Oh, no, that's like your new kid, right? That's the new generation, not Joyboy. Gotcha. Kind of like how, at first, he confused rocks for Davy Jones. I think it's going to be that exact same thing. Emu enslaved the world nearly for millennium. Sigh. Emu must have been in the right. Hey, again, we don't know if this is what Emu truly wanted. Maybe by fighting Joyboy, the world got thrown into disarray, and what we have witnessed in our current era is just Emu picking up the pieces. He's playing with the cards he's been dealt. I think Emu's going to be redeemable. I do think so. I am a sucker. I know not everybody's a fan of this. Some people like bad guys to stay bad guys, but I am a fan of an anti-hero. And I do think Emu might fall in that line. Oda really went straight to business with Emu and Loki. It's so damn good. Oh yeah, dude. You know, for me, I read spoilers, so I knew this was going to be a dedicated fight chapter. But I wonder what the average reader thinks of. You know, when you came into this chapter via reading TCB or Viz, did you expect it to be a full-on fight? Or were you expecting at some point for there to be a cutaway? Like, oh, here's Sanji's group. Surely we're going to stay with them for like 5 pages. Oh my god, like, let's see what Killing Him and Sommers are doing. Nope, no cutaways. And the cutaways we did have, mind you, 2 or 3 panels, done. Back to the action. That is some good stuff. The more material in the manga that Oda lends towards a fight, the better Toei can make that fight. You know, people were glazing Zoro versus Lucci, for example. In the anime, it did look really good. But guess what? Toei didn't have much to work with. They got that all off of 1 named attack and maybe 3 off panels. Now imagine what Toei could do with this full chapter of fighting. It could go absolutely bonkers, guys. All I'm saying. This says, with how Emu calls out Joyboy for the dominance ideology, maybe Joyboy initially thought like Emu did, but Lily changed his mind like Ida did for Harold. Oh, possibly. Yeah, maybe they both liked dominance, but somewhere down the road, there was a fork there, and they both went opposite directions. I do wonder how Lily's gonna fit in. Like, is Lily really gonna be a love interest? Not like that's a bad thing, right? You know, I feel like a lot of wars are fought over love. A lot of battles are fought over love, so it wouldn't be absurd. But it's like, damn, really? Lily? Out of everybody, huh? Like, surely there was an Amazon Empress back in the past, man. I don't know. Was Lily really that gal back in the day? I wonder. This chapter says one thing to me. Loki is not going to be a full crew member. For sure now. Oda just isn't going to have a character that can throw hands on par with Luffy and Emu and be a member of the crew amongst the Straw Hats. They will be on the same side, probably an alliance, but not Nakama. I do feel the same way. I do feel like Oda has kept the power balance in the Straw Hats pretty consistent. You could argue that he doesn't want to, he doesn't care about that, but I feel like throughout the entirety of the series, it's always been Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, right? That trio has never really been broken. Outside of the gag of Jinbei, which, you know, that's a whole thing in and of itself. You know, we don't have to get into that. But more or less, like, yeah, Loki joining the Straw Hats, I feel like would be really strange. So I do agree with you. I don't think Loki's going to be a full-on crew member. I do think he'll be a friend. I think he'll be a great friend to the Straw Hats, but not a crew member. Hell, he could even be a part of the Grand Fleet. I just don't think he's going to realistically sail with us to the next island. I mean, even right now, we more or less know his current goal in mind outside of Elbaf. After he deals with Emu, he wants to go check on Mosa, right? He was like, oh, Mosa, is it that thing again? And then after they hung up, he said, oh, it must be that place. I think he's going to go to that place. I think he will go to see Mosa. And I don't think that's going to be the next island for the Straw Hats. Whether it's Shirahoshi or somebody else, I do think we're going to have to split paths for now. And that will cause Loki to not be able to sail with the Straw Hats. And of course, I do think Loki, in and of his own right, is a true and blue captain, right? He is following the Rocksteady Zebek ideology. He wants to be a sun god that destroys the world. He has a current crew of his own, mind you. He has those stinky ass dudes in the underworld, and he has that army of giants that served his father, which we don't know what happened to them. Yeah, I don't think Loki is primed to be like the 10th and final Nakama, personally. If he joins, cool, right? I do like Loki. Actually, I'll say this, I like Loki than a good chunk of the Straw Hats even. You know, he just really grew on me, man. But I just don't see him being a Straw Hat pirate. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But right now, as of 1181, I don't see it. This says, I just realized Ragnar is a squirrel, not only to reference both Mjolnir and Ratatoskr simultaneously, but also it means Oda can confidently say that one of the most powerful characters wields a squeaky hammer. Oh yeah, like a toy hammer, huh? It's cute, dude. You know, Oda's talked about it before, about how he doesn't like making characters too perfect or too cool. I think by giving Loki a squeaky hammer, that is Oda's idea of nerfing Loki's cool factor. Even though it's not much of a nerf, you know, I do think the squirrel hammer goes hard. But, yeah, dude. Squirrel, Ragnar, Sandy Cheeks, it's some good stuff. I really do like Ragnar. And not just that, but you could even add in a third thing here. But Ragnar is also like a sexual innuendo because of the way he laughs and the way you pronounce squirrel. Apparently Ragnar is, you know, gonna be a nice SBS question for later, so to say. This says, let me guess, Rox's ancestor, maybe Davy Jones, was the ruler of the world and ruled in anarchy. And Joyboy and Emu were working together to free people, but Emu saw that as a lack of laws and order that brought anarchy and ruin, so he betrays Joyboy and their goals of freedom for that of dominion and control. And yeah, that's plausible. You know, there's so many different routes that this story could go down that genuinely you can't really say no to any theory. There's nothing that could shoot this down. So I'm cool with it. I do think there was a disagreement in the past, and maybe Emu witnessed humans or mankind searching for power and thus corrupting themselves over and over and over, that at some point Emu said, you know what, F it, they're gonna be under my control because you cannot trust these people otherwise. You know, maybe Emu just witnessed so many wars that in his mind he said, you know what, to stop all the wars, I'm just gonna control everything. Under my guiding hand, the world shall know peace. Maybe that's it. People believe a time skip is needed - inevitable, but one may already be happening. I love the way you word this. It sounds kind of ominous, huh? It's already happening. You just don't know it yet. If the theories about Elbaf are correct, then a lot of time has already passed outside of Elbaf. Yeah, the only downside to this is that this isn't a time skip for the Straw Hats. It's more so a time skip for the world, which I do agree with. Of course, we have not talked about time dilation in a while, and there's a lot of weird inconsistencies with it that I think Oda could smooth over if he wanted to, but I do think this is a really good way right here to progress the story. You know, I think this would be a really good way to say, hey, the Revs were last seen here, now they're doing this. Buggy, he needed a lot of poneglyphs? Well, wouldn't you know it, he has all of them now. Impel down? Well, wouldn't you know it, they actually broke out yesterday. I do think that a time skip around the world, meta here, you know, breaking the fourth wall, this would help Oda a lot. This would save Oda a lot of time so that he can just hurry up and speed along the story. And this could definitely make sense right here. I do think there is a reason why in Egghead Island, we had a lot of cutaways, right? We saw what Shanks was up to. We saw Hachinosu. We saw a little bit of Sword alongside Hachinosu. We got Kid. We got Law. We got so many outside events. But then you hit Elbaf, and what did Oda stop doing? He stopped giving us outside events. The last thing we saw that was an outside event was about the Holy Land being on fire. Oh, you know, we're in the midst of a sea of flames. And then when we cut back over to the Holy Land, guess what? The Sea of Flames has been quelled. It's all over. It's either that was the world's shortest raid or time dilation somehow worked in there and the fighting. But in Elbaf time, it was done in the snap of a finger. And again, I do always go back to Louis Arnaud saying, hey, do not linger in Elbaf for too long. We do not know the reasoning behind that yet. Time dilation was a theory back all the way then. And then, lest we forget, But when Shanks was taking a bath with Scopper Gaban, they both had different time frames. They both have different perspectives on it. Let me look it up real quick just to see, exactly what was said verbatim. So, Scopper thinks that it's only been 3 to 4 years since he last saw Shanks. But Shanks says, no, get real. It has been 10 years since the captain died. So what this means to me is that potentially for every minute spent in Elbaf, 3 minutes are actually spent on the outside world, which does relate back to the lifespan of giants. Giants, on average, live to be about 300 years old. That right there is 3 times the length of an average human lifespan. Of course, in One Piece, I think Oda said that humans live to like 120, but you know, that's like a wild out factor. We haven't seen a lot of characters over 100 minus Correjas, so I don't exactly want to tackle that aspect of it because that's kind of like a kill shot to the theory, but you guys get what I mean more or less, right? And then of course, you know, Yarul, he's living to about 400. You could argue him as well. Like, oh, maybe, the 3 times thing does work, and Jarl's an instance of that. But, besides the point, I do think time dilation - time skip is needed and inevitable. 23:43, a couple panels before Emu says, MIHAWK ... It is really just a small panel near the bottom of the page, so a lot of people missed it. Yes, Emu does say MIHAWK right before Loki shoots out the Thorheim attack, and then he follows it up in the inner monologue saying, thou hast really returned. I do think, end of the chapter, he is talking about MIHAWK. Initially, people thought that maybe he was talking to Luffy, like Luffy showed up back on the battlefield. I think it's too early for Luffy. And of course, there are no drums of liberation playing in the background. If there were sound effects, I'd believe it. But no, I think the simple answer is that at the end of the chapter, he's simply referring to MIHAWK. And of course, this right here just furthers that point. And I brought this up in a previous video. I do like this idea now that I've slept with it a little bit, but I would love it if Emu starts talking to MIHAWK, not Loki, but MIHAWK the devil fruit. Like maybe MIHAWK, because it has a will of its own, it starts responding to Emu, the devil's fruit. I think that could make sense, and we could get a crazy conversation between 2 legends here. Is it ironic that MIHAWK was with Perona, which sounds like Nerona? Yeah, I do enjoy that a lot. Yeah, MIHAWK, Perona, Nerona, it all kind of fits. I don't know how Perona really ties in with like the story as a whole. I think a very popular theory right now, or at least, the most recent Perona theory, is that she's related to Wano. Like she's an orphan from Wano, from one of the people who left 55 years ago. I think that theory holds a lot of weight. And if you guys don't know that theory, it's because her eyes are very reminiscent of Toko, because they both have that giant black bug eye thing going on. And then, of course, they both have pink bangs. So it's like, hey, we know that Moria was from Wano, more or less. Maybe he has a Wano adoptive daughter, and that is Perona. And then MIHAWK being a swordsman, it all kind of fits, right? But before that theory, the Nerona theory for Perona was actually gaining some traction, and I don't hate it. Hey, I am a big Perona fan. She is #1 in the verse of One Piece for me, so I'm cool with it. Anything to make Perona relevant again, I'd believe it, brother. I would believe it just for agenda. Who's to say Shanks wasn't sparring with MIHAWK up in the Holy Land? I think this is the case. If we're saying that MIHAWK is a celestial dragon, this is the easiest way to say how the rivalry first started. They met up in the Holy Land. Maybe Garling had beef with MIHAWK's family. Maybe Garling wanted to prove that the Fagarlands are on top. So he said, hey, Shanks, go fight that kid over there. That MIHAWK fella, he's from the Nerona family. He's from the Bavette family. He's from XYZ family. Spar with him. And then, of course, MIHAWK and Shanks, maybe they bonded over the mindset that they both don't like celestial dragons all too much. Shanks, we know that for sure. MIHAWK, that is purely headcanon, but considering how MIHAWK isn't up in Shangara right now, or we've never seen him up there, maybe he really doesn't like him. This says, do you know what else is massive? No, please, tell me. What else is massive? What's your name? What is this over here? You got Pikachu as your profile picture, huh? Levi Ackerman? Yeah, what else is massive? Please enlighten the comment section. The flames with demon faces reminds me of Maki's flames from Fire Force. They're just adorable. They really are, man. I don't know what it is. There's something about like cute skull monsters or just, you know, flames with faces in general. Studio Ghibli has one of those as well. I think his name is Cinder. Yeah. Fire with faces, man. I feel like that gets the crowd riled up. You can tell Emu is going to be a sympathetic villain by the fact that he is a handsome, human-looking devil. Satan-Lucifer is usually depicted one of two ways. Ooh, here we go. One, he looks like a beast and is pure evil, completely unrecognizable from the beautiful angel he once was. Or two, he's a very good-looking man because he was the most beautiful angel ever created. Rather than being purely evil, he is somewhat relatable. His motivation is usually that he chose to rule over hell and have free will rather than serve in heaven. The second depiction was mainly popularized by Paradise Lost. Oh, good call. It is a fantastic book and I would highly recommend it, though you may want to find a modernized version since it is written in early modern English. Yes, I have not read Paradise Lost, but I have read the Spark Notes. Pretty shameless to say, but hey, it is a good read, man. It's one of those books that you hear about every now and then. I haven't read it fully, but I would recommend it. This says Worst Gen is getting executed on Twitter. Yeah, for the MIHAWK stuff. And also, Shueisha is cracking down on leaks, so there's also that too, which makes sense, right? I feel like every couple of years, you'll see companies fighting back against anime and manga piracy. It's like how, 9 anime got taken down, then it came back up like a year later. Yeah, that stuff happens pretty much every single year, without failure. Reminds me of the clash between Roger and Whitebeard. The clash between Loki and Emu reminding you of Roger and Whitebeard. I see what you mean, because they're not touching, but the way Emu reacts to Loki's attack, it's a little bit different, right? Emu doesn't care. Emu simply threw it up, one hand just hanged out, dude. And Loki was really trying to put him down too. Roger and Whitebeard, it felt more equal, but here, dude, Emu was just flexing. All right, let me see real quick. Was he actually using one hand or did I make that up? Oh yeah, he is just using one hand. Oh, dude, that's different, man. That is different. I love the chapter. I always like chapters like this. Same. I'm a meathead, dude. You know, between this chapter of One Piece and this week's chapter of Kagurabachi, we meatheads are eating good. Been waiting for this all day. Chopper ending the fight with a forest god pimp slap would be so funny. The worst part is that this could theoretically happen. It's not zero, right? The possibility of this happening is not 0%. It might be low, very low, but it could happen. And this would be like a gag, right? You know, this is very One Piece coded. Chopper shows up, hits Emu. Emu's like, wait, what the hell is he doing here? Gets sent back to the Holy Land. Or maybe he takes extra damage because, you know, Forrest got shenanigans. Which, this theory still has not been tackled yet. I do think that there's a reason why Oda showed Chopper being so special against Domiverse Giants, but he never elaborated. You know, Oda's explanation, the one he's given us thus far, is that Chopper is simply a good doctor. We know that's not the answer, Oda. We know it's not the answer, man. He is hiding it. My theory is that Joyboy with Nika's fruit had a falling out with Emu and Lily used the Opi Opi no Mi to save Emu and give him immortality. Toki said all of it, I am out. Lily using the fruit to save Emu. I don't know. You know, I do take Emu's words at face value. I think Lily really did disappear. You know, she went out, she spread the poneglyphs. I wouldn't say she gave Emu immortality. I think it might have been somebody else. I don't know. I don't mind it. To be fair, Toki did not say all this out loud, but yeah, I don't mind this theory though, in general. I think Joyboy was being dismissive and laughing, kind of like, hey, whatever you say, bro, and Emu was thinking about it and getting pissed. I don't know. I wouldn't agree with this because you see Emu laughing. You know, Oda does put the laughing emote above Emu, so I think they were both on the same wavelength. I think this is more so Emu getting pissed because him and Joyboy actually did get along until they didn't. That right there is my whole take on the situation, but we shall see. Peak chapter, I like the expansion of Haki-Maki Emu, explaining the holy trinity of corruption, power, and covenants. Yep, it's still very abstract. He gave us something, but we still need more. We still need the Maki explained, especially in regards to the God Knights, because the God Knights are just like let loose right now, right? We don't see where Killingham's going. We don't see where Sommers is going. We don't even know what the hell is going on with Gunko. So I do want to see how Maki affects them and how they're using that power, right? Emu used Maki last chapter. He used Maki this chapter. Let's see what somebody who was granted Maki can do now. It's interesting because if MIHAWK is the son or relative of Emu, any direct connection, it likens them to Dracula and Alucard, which is cool. Yep. And again, you break down the name Dracula or Dracule, it is son of the dragon or son of the devil, which I don't know if Oda was always going for that route with MIHAWK, but it could have been like a nice little coincidence. To me, this Emu invasion of Elbaf feels like Whitebeard at Marineford and Garp at Hachinosu, so I think Emu will die here. And I can see a scenario where Blackbeard pulls up and steals Emu's devil fruit, so he finally becomes the actual supervillain that our heroes need to overcome, because as it is, nobody takes Blackbeard that seriously, so he needs a major boost if he'll actually be the final villain. I agree. The way I see it, I've talked about it before, but I think that Emu will be the big bad world-ending supervillain, but after we beat Emu, Blackbeard will be the next one. I liken it, again, to Naruto, where we fought Madara and Kaguya. That is how I view Emu, and then after we beat them, we go on to tackle Sasuke, which in this scenario would be Blackbeard. Not personality-wise or story-wise, but, just placement-wise and scale-wise. That is how I see Blackbeard. But as far as Emu dying here, I don't agree with that, because I do believe that we need the D's to assemble to take him down. And we still haven't seen Dragon really make a move on Emu. We still haven't seen a majority of the God Knights. So because of that, and because we still haven't seen Emu's weapon even, I do not think he's dying here. He still has so much in the bag that we have not seen, that if he were to die, what would happen to it? It's not like Blackbeard beats Emu and then boom, he's now the leader of the WG. It's not like, the celestial dragons start following Blackbeard. It's not like Blackbeard starts getting all the kingdoms together. I don't really see that being the case. I do think Blackbeard will take Emu's powers, potentially, but this is probably something that happens after the final war. Because right now, if we were to fight Blackbeard, it would simply be pirate crew versus pirate crew. We still need that final war, and I do believe that Emu's going to be at the center of all of it. And hell, we still don't even have the Emu flashback. Like, there's still a lot we need from Emu, so much so that I do not believe that he's going to die here. I do not think this is going to be the case. There's just so many characters that are tied to Emu that haven't come into the picture yet, that if he were to die, in my opinion, it really wouldn't make sense yet. I do agree, Blackbeard does need to be propelled, but I think we can simply save this for later. Just push this back like 100 chapters, and then we're chilling. This chapter was effing sick and all, but I'm only here to say that Carrot got that shit. Okay, Carrot looks good. Yeah, Carrot had a jacket on that said Queen. This might be the best I've ever thought that Carrot has ever looked. Oda is all gas, no brakes. When Emu's smiling, I can't really tell if that Thorheim attack actually hurt him or if it's just a scratch. That panel is confusing. I think it's just a scratch. And plus, he did throw up a Maki to defend himself. You actually see the black flame barrier when you zoom away from the Atom Tree. I think he's fine. I think he's smiling because he's just happy. You gotta imagine, man. The guy has been holed up in a flower room, surrounded by old men in St. Somers for 900 years. And now he's an Elbaf. He's fighting. He's taking damage. And he sees Nidhogg again. I think he's truly living life. And plus the narrator, or at least, the Shonen Jump editors, they added in the whole thing where it says he has a fearless smile. I think he's having a good time. I think he is living life right now. Let's see here. Last comment. This says 1 chapter of just fighting, and it's a whole episode of just fights. Yep. Yeah, whenever this gets animated in, like, I don't know, 2028, this is going to be some goddamn heat. And I don't know if it's still persistent in this chapter, but Emu should have a theme song. Kind of like how Luffy has the Drums of Liberation. We saw that when Emu arrived, houses came to life. We had the whole do-ro-ro-ro but thing going on. Emu's music should be blaring during this Loki battle. But yep, that is it for today, guys. Today was essentially just an Emu Hype Fest video. Let me know your thoughts and theories about this chapter down below, and I'll catch you guys when 1182 rolls around. Peace out, and stay safe, brothers.